Hi, welcome to Pep Talk. My name is George Gantz. I'm a member of PEP, Promoting Enduring Peace. Our motto is peace on earth, peace with earth. Okay, let's face it, the world is anxious and stressed, and for good reason. Nuclear tensions are at crisis levels. Refugees are fleeing war-torn regions in the Middle East and Africa in record numbers. Natural disasters continue to ravage communities around the world and here at home. Economic inequality seems to be rising, and bitter political fights have erupted even in Western nations like the U.S. Then there's climate change, mass extinction, and the threat of huge job losses from technology and globalization. Things are looking pretty bleak. But let's step back for a minute and take a look at the big picture. How is humanity doing today compared to the past? You may be surprised to learn that some things look pretty good. Here are some examples. Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Nicholas Kristof reported in January that when he began writing about global poverty in the early 1980s, more than 40% of all humans were living in extreme poverty. Today, less than 40 years later, the number has fallen to less than 10%. That's incredible! And current programs are on track to drive that number down to just 3 or 4% by 2030. For most of human history, extreme poverty was the default condition. We are now close to wiping it out. In 2016, the World Health Organization announced that worldwide average life expectancy had increased by 5 years since 2000. The worldwide average is now 73.8 years for women and 69.1 years for men. The improvement in Africa was an amazing 9.4 years just since 2000, due largely to better child survival, malaria control, and HIV drugs. These results are truly remarkable. By comparison, average life expectancy 100 years ago was about 31 years. Another thing, on the whole, human lives today are much less violent than in the past. Scientist and author Steven Pinker writes that violence has been on the decline for thousands of years, and we are now living in the most peaceful era in history. Ethnic cleansing, genocide, public torture, the beating of children, blood sports, and summary executions were commonplace in past centuries. While they still happen, they're almost universally condemned in the modern world. That's progress. Philosopher Thomas Hobbes made this observation in 1651, quote, "The life of man is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short." Life for most humans is clearly much better today. From the Hobbesian perspective, we're living in a glorious golden age, enjoying human health and longevity for most, largely free from scourge and deprivation, moving towards universal freedom and dignity. So what's the deal? How can things be getting better when they seem so bad? Well, obviously not everything is perfect, and things can and do go badly wrong from time to time. But here are some factors to consider. First, we all tend to focus on the negative. Fear is a much more powerful motivator than peace. Scary things excite the mind. Why else would ancient myths, Grimm's fairy tales, and modern horror movies all be so gruesome? Fear and violence also gets a lot more media attention. Those are the news stories we want to hear about. Those are the news stories we get. At the same time, we tend to remember our past in a more positive light than it may deserve. We've often overcome bad times, and researchers have shown that we tend to reinterpret our past on favorable terms. We can also be a bit nostalgic, even romantic about the past. We like stories about heroic knights and fair maidens. The Disney Empire was built on a fantasy magic kingdom. And we imagine the virtues of the ancient tribes that lived in harmony with nature, enjoying the original paleo diet. But do you really want to go back to live in the Dark Ages with the bubonic plague? Or join a tribe of Paleolithic hunter-gatherers constantly in fear of large carnivores, drought, or conquest by competing tribes? No thanks. That's real. We just want the fantasy. But there's something else going on. We judge how things are today relative to our expectations. People should be kind to each other. Nations should obey international norms. Things should be fair. Well, our expectations have changed a lot in the last 100 years, even in the past few decades. Noam Chomsky, renowned linguist and peace activist, put it this way just last month, quote, "Things have become much more civilized than 50 to 60 years ago. Struggles begin at a much higher plane today." So, people are expecting better and demanding better. And when the news about the world fails to meet these expectations, we are disappointed and angry. It's easy to lose hope and become fearful about the future. Isn't that ironic? Our perception that the world is becoming more frightening is partly due to the fact that the world is actually getting better. So let's think about this. Our expectations have been ratcheting up. The world has been getting better. This encourages even higher expectations. In turn, governments and institutions, including global markets, non-governmental organizations, and the United Nations, and people around the world have responded. They have delivered the goods, at least some of the time. Of course, this has not been a steady course. There have been major setbacks, and we're likely to see more. In fact, there are big problems today with inequality, injustice, the environment, aggression, and terrorism all around us. And there are many millions of desperate people who are still leading lives that are nasty, brutish, and short. We can do better. We should do better. But let's not forget that for the majority of human beings today, things are a lot better than they used to be. So here's the bottom line. Do not lose hope. Let's remember that things are better, and let's keep moving the bar of our expectations. Everyone around the globe really wants the same thing: peace, security, a clean and safe environment, the opportunity to make their lives better. If we can stay focused on these shared expectations, raising our concerns and our demands, our governments and international institutions will respond. So here's what you can do. Get informed about the issues you care about. You can sign up for our free news service at peacenews.org and look for balanced, reliable sources in your media feeds, including positive features like pep talks. Get involved with other good people. Join us at peace.org and join a local organization for community development, peace, justice, or environmental sustainability. And let the world know how you feel. Get active online by sharing what you find and commenting on it, especially the occasional success stories. And contact your elected representatives. Let them know about your expectations for global progress and human prosperity. You can make a difference. Thanks for listening. Enjoy some good news today.